Dedicating time to a master's program is a huge sacrifice, and it often makes you wonder, is it worth it? Well, let's talk about that. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. I am Jonesia from QA, and today I wanted to get into the pros and cons of a master's program, what that can do for you, if it's ultimately worth it, worth the time, worth the energy. And I wanted to give that from the perspective of someone who has a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in data analytics. So back in undergrad, I knew that I was going to need to pursue some form of higher education to be financially stable in a way that would be behooving to myself. So I knew that I wanted to pursue a PhD in clinical psychology specifically. I was very interested in global mental health and seeing how populations were impacted by different mental illnesses in different countries. I thought that that was fascinating and I was really curious about that. But I will say at the time, I didn't know that there were programs like that, so I was kind of struggling to hone in on my interests at that point in time. So I actually got into this post-baccalaureate research program. I found out about it at breakfast one day from someone who just happened to ask me if I had even considered a PhD. And I hadn't, and it kind of launched me into looking into that because I certainly never thought of it before. So I ended up doing this program over the summer right after my junior year. So it was a research program where you get to work one-on-one with a mentor. You have a whole cohort that you can kind of collaborate with and, kind of encourage each other in each other's research. And it was a really great experience. Like I really, I met some great people. I was honestly inspired by the work ethic of some of the people because they were deep into research, and I thought that was fascinating as a person who was coming in to research. So I did that research program, and then I also did research with one of my professors at my university. And we ended up doing critical thinking type of research, which was interesting, cognitive psychology type of stuff. I will say after doing these research experiences, I still felt as though I was a little bit behind with my exposure to research and just feeling comfortable with conducting it. So what I did was I ended up actually going for a post-baccalaureate program, which would essentially have opportunity for you to work at an institution and get more research experience before you actually go for the PhD. So I ended up applying for several schools, and one of the schools told me that I was pretty much ready for the PhD. I didn't get any yeses, but I appreciated that university telling me why I wasn't chosen. So I will say, even after that, my confidence wasn't where it needed to be for the PhD program. I'm going to be so transparent with you. I had imposter syndrome after my research baccalaureate program experience. Being around such great minds and seeing how people were so comfortable with like speaking on the research and stuff like that, I was very scared. I was very nervous about presenting my research, about the whole process, just knowing all the facets and stuff like that. So by the time it came to my actual packages being put together, I had the references, I had the research experiences, I had everything. But when it came to the personal statement, I didn't know what I was going to say that was going to set me apart. And I will say that's one of my biggest regrets, is letting that keep me from pursuing what I wanted to pursue. My biggest regret is that I didn't actually take the time to apply and figure out the personal statement situation. I think that I did myself a disservice with that. But by the time I figured out that I wasn't going to go for my PhD, I knew that I needed to do something. So I ended up looking into master's programs. I looked into MBAs, and I ended up honing in on a data analytics program at a university that worked with people who were working professionals. So I did that, and I took a chance on it, and I told myself, if we get through this first course, then we're going to finish this program. And it was a 36 credit program, 6 classes. It was very intensive, but it was good. It taught me a lot about myself. So as far as the pros of a master's program, I'd say the biggest one for me personally was that it built my confidence. When I entered that program, I only knew the arts, I only knew psychology. I had no exposure to like major STEM type of stuff, science, technology, engineering, and mathematical type of subjects. So the most I had exposure to was statistics in psychology. It was new to me. I wasn't sure if I could do it. So it was a huge deal for me when I actually made it through that first course. And it built my confidence because I was doing things that I had no idea how to do the start of the week, and by the end of the week, like in my machine learning class in particular, we would learn a new machine learning technique. We'd have to find a data set, run an analysis on it, and then write a paper on it. And somehow I was doing it, and I was getting A's on my assignments. I was doing very well, and you know, it showed me that I had the ability, that I had the aptitude to do more than I really gave myself credit for. So I would definitely say that the master's program, at least for me, gave me confidence. So it'd probably do the same for you too. Another pro is that it gives you a leg up in the job market. When I was going for my first quality assurance position, I was working on my master's in data analytics. I only had my psychology bachelor's degree officially, but I think that my master's program gave me the leg up in the sense that they saw, okay, she has exposure to systems, data management, things of that nature. She could be a system administrator. So it kind of gave a little bit of trust in that sense that, all right, she can be a professional in this technical sense. Another thing about a master's degree is that it gives you the opportunity for advancement in your career. I will tell you right now, I would not have even been considered for a specialist position if I didn't have my master's degree. That was something that, I ended up talking to my mentor about it, saying, hey, do you think I should apply for this job? And they said, oh yeah, you could have applied like when you were hiring on. And I guess even just working on my master's, they would have trusted me with that. So I think that that says a lot, and keep that in mind when you're looking for jobs. Like if you have a degree or you're working on your degree, it can weigh heavily to employers. So as far as the cons, the biggest one would be the price. Master's degrees are not free. I'm pretty sure you have to get an assistantship. Like if you're doing a master's that's on campus, I'm pretty sure you'd have to do an assistantship, teaching or research, or you get some sort of fellowship maybe. But I know that the reason I wanted to go for my PhD was because there are opportunities to get that fully funded, or you can get assistantships or fellowships, ways that the university will cover it. And if you go to a good enough school, they will cover your whole tuition, which at least they have the potential for that. So with master's programs, unfortunately, they don't usually do that, especially if you're not on campus. The program I was in, it was for working professionals, so it's probably assumed that you're going to be working while you're in that program, so that's how you're going to pay that off. So that's just something to keep in mind. So another con is that you might put in all the time into your program and you may not even do anything career-wise with the specific program. In my case, I was studying data analytics. I wanted to be a data analyst, and the joke was on me because it wasn't until like I was in my capstone course, and we were talking in our discussions, and they were saying, like, people were saying, yeah, if you don't have industry experience, it's going to be hard for you to actually get like a data analyst position. People were saying that, and it was just like, I really put in the time to this and I can't even get this job. But I was like, what, I'm going to try anyway. And every time, even this year, people will reach out saying, oh, you have data analytics experience. Like, what career experience do you have with that? And it's like, I have the master's degree. And they're just like, oh, but you don't have industry experience? Okay, bye. Every time it was disheartening, and it hurts my soul still to this day every time that happens. So just keep that in mind, that you may not be utilizing that degree specifically, but it can help you get other opportunities, as I also shared. So again, something to keep in mind. Oh my gosh, this one. So another con is that you may have to repeat a class. I had to do this because it was literally my second class. I could not for the life of me get this Python program to run, and because of that, I had an A the whole time, but not getting that one program to run. And I did everything I could. I reached out to the TA, the professor. I couldn't be helped. I could not be saved. And that dropped me down to a C. And another thing about master's programs, some of them don't accept C's in their programs, and mine was one of them. So your girl had to retake a whole class, which was not cheap. It's fine. I made the money back, but just it's something to keep in mind. You may have to retake a class. So if you're going to go for the master's degree, make sure you're financially stable, or that you're able to afford to retake a class if you have to, because things happen. I retook the class. I took some courses on Coursera, took a semester off, and I ended up passing that class the next time I took it. But these things happen. We're not perfect. So just learn from my experiences. I'm ashamed, would I do things differently? No, honestly, I'm at peace with everything, how it all panned out. It ended up working out a lot better than I could have expected. So no, I wouldn't do things differently, even if I could at this point. If I did have to do things over, what would I do? Well, I'd probably explore programs a little more thoroughly. I will say that I ended up actually applying for the clinical psychology PhD program last fall, and I did it because I felt like I really dropped the ball by not applying when I was in my early 20s. So I applied anyway. I had recommendations, having that industry experience, having people who could be references. I wrote my statement, and this time I really had my research goals focused in. Yeah, I applied to a few schools, and I didn't get in. But, I did it, and I'm glad that I did, because I would have regretted never applying. Just, it clearly it wasn't in the cards for me, but that's not to say it wouldn't be in the cards for you. So, life is short. If there's something that you want to go for, at least see it through. You owe it to yourself to know. You don't want to stay up at night wondering, oh no, what would have been? And just go for it. Find out. And if you don't get it, that's okay, because you can always find another route. We are resilient. I will say I may have actually honed in on those MBA programs a little bit more, because some of them sounded really interesting. So if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you reached this point, leave a book emoji, or let me know. Would you pursue a master's degree? Have you pursued a master's degree? Do you think it's worth it, or do you think it's a waste of time? Let me know below. For those who are new to this channel, my name is Imani, and I do videos on quality, education, and career topics. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I can provide you more content like this. But that's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.